It is whatever you think it is. It is whatever you think it is. Riley, welcome. So when you're being called to look at the law of attraction, when you're being called to investigate your duality, investigate your shadow, when you want to experience radical joy in your life, you assume radical accountability to yourself and to your joy. Everything you're moving through right now is helping you become the container for the life you desire. If you want to think about yourself like a magnet, you're just going through a tune-up. But that means looking at some of these limitations that disconnect you from this feeling of inspiration, this feeling of possibility and wonder. Four of Pentacles, Two of Cups, Page of Wands. You're getting ready for something new here. Clear Vision, hello. Michael, hi. Your words have power. And you're learning how to validate the reality you desire and create the life you desire by expressing yourself freely. Uninhibiting passion and joy. But sometimes you have to fan a spark before it can become a flame. Okay? You have more time than you think with making this happen. You have more time than you think. Okay? Page of Cups. Self-forgiveness is the key to moving forward. Well, that's really the key to change. Because when you forgive yourself, you don't judge yourself for your past or your present. That's how you create room for new possibilities. Your compassion is forgiving. To others, to your circumstances, to your past selves. To give you the emotional flexibility to create something new. Okay, Spirit, why did this card come out? Deciding to get to know yourself and to get to know your joy will be the most exciting journey you ever set out on. because you'll begin to honor the ways that you aimed to survive, the things that you adopted to survive, to keep yourself safe, and to have the glorious privilege of time and space now to start exploring all of those ways you evolved to protect yourself. So now that you can live a different way by seeing that there are certain things you don't have to take with you. Certain, the way they're saying is maladaptive protective mechanisms. Just that things that served you in the past don't serve you anymore. And that's okay. That means you're changing. It means you're growing. With the Seven of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, and the Six of Cups. Dungeon Cooler, I'm happy it's resonating. Jennifer, I'm happy it's resonating. Carla, welcome. Light from the Divine, welcome. These challenges present opportunities to choose healing, but that's not always the easier choice. Validating your pain is not always the easier choice, but also validating your need to let go of something is not always the easier choice. It'll be what it is for you. Your situations are unique. But if your goal is expansion, how can you treat yourself in such a way that you can coach yourself through the that you can coach yourself through being exactly who you are in any given moment and loving yourself through that. This is for reparenting. Carla, absolutely. That was Rise by Willow and Johnavie Harrison. Sometimes when your heart is asking for freedom, it doesn't feel good. It feels like pressure. It feels like constriction. Jennifer, no one ever wanted to hear me speak. No one ever wanted to hear me speak, and look at me now. You have the power to change your entire reality. You have the power to change your entire reality. Do you have control over the timing of it? No. But you do have the ability to change your entire reality. Indeed. Periods of pause, the stillness, or where you feel like you're in a waiting area, like you're in the lobby, you're waiting to get called in. Those are times to rest. Those are times to connect with yourself. I know, I thought we'd get more tarot. Okay, we have about 10 more minutes on this message today. I just got the notification. My guys are funny. Ooh. Okay, thank you.
You know what? I finally found...
I see some of you might resist at times this investigative process where you get to know your discomfort and you get to know your pain and you're yucky and you're messy. You're afraid to look at this because you're afraid it's going to be never ending. That you're a problem that you can't fix. But what if you find that underneath that, you see how much you still shine? You see how resilient you are. You still have love to give. You still have effort and determination, the will to show up, the courage to continue. What happens if you go through all the messy and you end up liking yourself? How radical would that be? And you end up really loving yourself. Intimacy. This is too good to be true is a trigger statement. True statement, it can only get better. But you'll never know for sure if you don't give yourself a chance to explore that possibility. That's where your joy comes in. Well, if you mean selfish, do you mean greedy and inconsiderate? Because I feel like sensitive folks could afford to be a little bit more self-centered. Because that's how you protect your joy. That's not possible, Hercules. that you, as a sensitive being with your healing heart and your healing intentions, could become so healed that you become a horrible person. Do you hear that? Do you hear the fallacy of fear? How is that possible? How is that possible? It's not. You're just afraid that you might resemble the people that hurt you if you let go of that intense control over yourself by holding on to the limitations you hold on to. But what if, in letting go, you become happier and healthier and of greater service than before? Your happiness, your joy, does not disconnect you from being of service to others. Your happiness, your healing, your fulfillment naturally inspires you to share your abundance of spirit. That is your joy. Your joy gives and uplifts by the very nature of its own vibration. That's why happy people are so happy to be around. Happy people are such a joy to be around. Reset, third eye. Perspective shift coming in. Trigger statement, I am sick. True statement, I am alive. Or there's something wrong with me. That's another way to hear that. It's in time to embrace a new way of being. One filled with health and the freedom to create a new reality. Wow. I know, Spirit, they're like, that's the message. They're like, that's the message. It's time to embrace a new way of being, one filled with health and the freedom to create a new reality. You were so ready to claim that. I was sitting here, I was like, Spirit, is there a number you want everyone to claim that with? And you were just like, it's mine. No, I don't need permission to, I don't need someone to tell me when I'm ready to claim that. It's mine. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I've got 2 more cards for you. If you want to claim these, I'm feeling like 333 is your number, you guys. But wait till you hear the last couple cards here. We have insight, third eye healing. Oh, you guys were like, nope, I already know it's mine. Okay. Insight. Someone needing to bless their space a little bit. Bless their aura. There is no hope. Trigger statement. And what'd you also hear? Things will never change. True statement. There is a higher purpose. There's a higher purpose. Connect with your higher self. And what have I been saying in all of my messages for the last 2 months? First thing out has been what? Meditate. Connect with your higher self and allow to be guided to your higher purpose. As the veil of illusion falls away, you will find your answer. Here we we go. Your reset is dependent on what? Your integration. Bam. And what does that look like? Balance and integration to me. Solar plexus healing. You guys better be feeling so fired up right now. Integrate. Trigger statement. I am trapped. I'm stuck. Things will never change. Why does this always happen to me? All variations on the same thing, huh? True statement. I am whole. I am whole. Allow the parts of yourself you hide to make themselves known. Allow the parts of yourself you hide to make themselves known. And if you've been asking for healing, folks, I'm going to say, if you've been asking for ascension, you've been asking for healing, you've been asking for help, you're inviting in situations that will expose these things that you're not ready to pull up yourself, okay? If you've been asking for help, if you've been asking for a light on your blind spots, your guides are going to say, okay, well, this is one of those things that we got to bring up. So here you go. Part of that is your allowance. Allow the parts of yourself you hide to make themselves known. In the light, you will see the wisdom they hold. But you're building a tolerance to hold space for the discomfort. Okay? Okay, damn, slow down the exposure. That's funny. But your guides are also going to try at varying levels. They don't always start with the super big stuff, you guys. Unless it's really deep and there's a lot of patterns of avoidance around it. They're not always going to start with like super duper extreme exposure therapy, okay? Chances are if things happen like that, it's because things have been building up to that. Okay? Balancing comfort and discomfort. Yep. Right on, Carla. Yeah, that's the message. Wow. Finding your joy, discovering your joy from within means through discovering and honoring all of you. Because your joy is so specific. Your joy, your abundance is so specific that how could the things you want not be meant for you? Last few cards, messages from your future self. I love closing out with this deck for you guys. No, they're like, that's it. We don't have more cards. Well, I tried. Yeah. That's all they have. You've got this. You heard everything you needed to hear. If you're just tuning in now, I'm so happy you clicked on this video, but I'm going to encourage you to watch it from the beginning. Part way. Because there's a reason you're here. Okay? You got this. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I would love to help you. The link to book with me is in the description box. It's also in the live chat here. I'm going to ask my mom. Oh, thank you, Lisa, for dropping that already. And again, I appreciate you. And if you want to join me over on Patreon for exclusive guided meditations and, what's the word? Exclusive messages. Okay. I go on Zoom over there once a week with you guys to dive deep into some energy work. It's always different, always super powerful, always transformative. Okay? I love connecting with you guys over there. If you want to join me, links in the description box. I'm going to ask my mod, one of my mods here, to drop the Patreon link. And I will see you very soon.
With Amex Gold, you earn points when you spend on trying fringe, and scarves disguising fringe, and coffee talking about fringe. And you can use those points on takeaways, other themselves out.
Learn Spanish with Real Spanish TV.
Hello everyone, my name is Dylan and welcome to a brand new video. So today I'm going to be hitting you with some real, natural British English conversation all about my favourite and least favourite countries that I have visited. So I'm going to be speaking at a very natural pace, which will be at about a B2 to a C1 level, and I have also made a free PDF to go with this video, including all of the native expressions and pieces of vocabulary that I used, and the link to that will be in the top comment. Okay then, let's do this. Okay, so before we get started, I need to throw in a quick but very important disclaimer. Everything I say in this video is just my light-hearted first impression, so if I say that your country sucks, please don't be offended. Take everything I say with a huge pinch of salt. Right. So we're going to start off in Asia, then we're going to make our way back towards Europe, and eventually back into the UK. And let's begin in Malaysia. Malaysia, you cheeky boy. So I was in Kuala Lumpur for about a month last year, and yes, I'm going to be basing my entire perception of this whole country on that one trip I made to that one city about a year ago, and that will be a recurring theme throughout this video. But yeah, it's a very interesting place. So as far as I'm aware, Malaysia is made up of 3 different cultures or ethnicities, I'm not sure what you would call them. So we have the Indian Malays, we have the Chinese Malays, and the Malaysian Malays. Malay, is that how you say that? Who knows? And I was told that there was some animosity between these 3 groups. I didn't notice that personally, but I definitely did notice how mixed the whole culture was. So for instance, you'd be in Kuala Lumpur, you'd be walking down the street, you'd look to your left and there'd be a very old, ancient Asian temple, and you think, okay, cool, I'm in an ancient Asian traditional village. Then you'd look to your right and there'd be a row of palm trees and all these different skyscrapers and a huge shopping centre, and you'd think that you were in somewhere like Dubai. So that's one thing I did notice, and just from I'm definitely not qualified to talk about this, but just from my first impression, it feels as if they do have a bit of an identity crisis, like they're not really too sure which culture they'd like to lean into, which is very understandable. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it can be quite interesting to have such a mixed culture, but it's definitely something that I noticed. And yeah, we need to talk about the number of skyscrapers here, because they're just everywhere. Personally, I think this is something to do with Singapore. So the fact that I think Singapore kind of just left Malaysia, then became like this really small but rich, affluent country. I've never been there, but I'd imagine that they have quite a few skyscrapers as well. So it's almost as if Kuala Lumpur, it's like they're compensating a little bit, overcompensating by building all of these huge buildings that they don't really need in order to try and keep up with Singapore. Maybe that's just my personal opinion, yeah. But in general, Malaysian people are really nice. I had a great time there, so I've definitely got a good impression of this country. Malaysian people are lovely. They actually speak really good English, so I didn't really have any problems with communication, which is always a good thing. The food is nice. They have a huge variety of different dishes there, so you don't have to just get Malaysian food. Malaysian food is actually quite nice, though. I'm still not 100% sure what Malaysian food is. I think it's just rice and meat and different spices and herbs and stuff like that, but it is good. So yeah, they use British plugs for some unknown reason, which is always a good thing. And yeah, in general, those are the positives of Malaysia. Now let's look at the negatives. Firstly, it's very hot and humid. This isn't really Malaysia's fault, and it might not be a big deal for some of you, but for me personally, I can't really deal with that, but not Malaysia's fault. The nightlife is a bit, nothing special, but you can watch Premier League football there, and that's important, because that's not something
I can't normally get into mobile games, but this one really hooked.
It's like I did also get a good YouTube video out of it when I was attacked by a vicious horde of monkeys in the Batu caves. So in general, I definitely recommend going to this place, and if there are any Malaysians watching this or Malays watching this, Firstly, please correct me if I'm saying that wrong. And secondly, let me know if you agree or understand what I'm saying by the whole identity crisis thing, because that's just something that I noticed. Okay, let's look at Taiwan. So I was in Taipei for about 10 days earlier this year, and it was awesome. I love this place. So let's look at the positives. There are many. Firstly, the food is amazing, and not just Taiwanese cuisine, but it's one of those places where wherever you go, it doesn't matter what you eat, it's always going to be high quality. So I was really impressed with that. Very vegan friendly. I'm not a vegan myself, but I often found myself eating vegan food there, sort of accidentally, because I would just walk past a restaurant and the food looked good. I'd go in there, order something, then later find out that it was vegan. So if you are a vegan, this is probably one of the best places in Asia to go to. English is amazing, no communication problems whatsoever. So once again, for a lazy Westerner, always a good thing. They have a really good gym there. That's something I noticed. Not everywhere. There are a lot of places in Asia that don't have great gyms, but there's a really good one, probably one of the best gyms I've ever been to. It's called like Anytime Fitness or something like that. So I was really impressed with that. It's always a good thing when you go somewhere and they have some good facilities like that. A very cool art museum, and I was checking that out. This was when I was going through my whole turtleneck phase. I don't know if you remember that, but it was towards the end of last year and the start of this year. I was just like turtleneck crazy, and in like most of my videos, I'll be wearing some sort of turtleneck. We had the black one, we had the grey one, or like a tight-fitted crew neck jumper. Yeah, I don't really know what that was about, but it was perfect for the whole art aesthetic. So it really improved the experience. What else? Loads